Good morning, class. This video is another unscheduled one, and it is added specifically to help you for the final, your own video presentation. And you will receive an email from the class coordinator for a job requirement simulated. Uh, Pretend there's a job opening out there by some enterprise, and the job title is uh, business analyst, comma, digitalization transformation. So what did that mean? And I actually saw this kind of job opening out there, and I thought that would be exactly what my student could give it a try. Of course, if you truly acquired and even mastered the knowledge, that was delivered in a class. So in any case, to make sure of that, so this added video is to give you more focused content in specific regard to this simulated job opening was the particular requirement that I actually already saw once, and I do believe it's actually going trend. All enterprises will go there in the 21st century. It's a matter of when, for whom, but basically that's where it's going. So hopefully you catch the trend and you get your better job with the new skill set that is required. But in most schools, in their academic programs, they're not offering this sort of transitional skill sets that would help the enterprises to transform from where they are, the status quo operation, to the new one, the more digitized or digitalized, specifically supply chain management. And that's your major, right? Your major is what? SCLT, right? Supply chain management, logistic technology. And that's what, I thought that's what I taught here, and I hope you learned that, right? So back to the point now. In the video that was, prior to this one, also cater to the subject of the video presentation. I talked at length about the WMS, TMS, and the AI, the deep learning, all that. So that sounds like very vague, big words. So what does that mean? Let me talk a little bit so that you understand what the transformation is going to be from where to where, right? So I already mentioned that the ERP basically, following the MRP, came out in late 1980s, and it has been somewhat a big deal. And I can't believe some of the logistic manager of a very big EPC, and this was only a couple of years ago, over a party was telling me, oh, we have this technology. And I was really, basically intrigued. I was like, oh yeah, what technology is that? And then the guy told me, TMS. I'm like, TMS? Are you kidding me? That's a new technology? So why do I think all the logistics of any industry is moving from here to, AI enhanced learning? So I first I need to give you a little more tangible, I guess, knowledge about what is AI, what is enhanced learning, right? So there are a lot of open courses out there online. If you are interested, you can watch it. There's some very good ones from MIT. Those they talk about. Of course, there's some prerequisite, for that kind of class. So I don't suppose you have that. I guess background to comprehend clearly immediately after that kind of watching, because this video is a lot down to earth for layman kind of English, and the other ones are more mathematical, right? So anyway, back to the point. We talked about in the previous videos that the TM is not even a whole lot of enterprises implementing that, except for if you are in the industry that your logistic pattern is pretty much repetitive all the time. So what is repetitive? That's if you are sampling anything randomly, and this is very important, randomly sample anything, right? And chances are it's pretty accurate, because basically between case 1, case 2, case 3, they're almost, if you don't say identical, they're very, very similar. So if you randomly take any sample, it's very representative, to a full scope and large scale. So this is repetitive, right? So obviously there's certain industries, the logistic operation pattern, they're not repetitive, and which we talked about, like oil, gas, chemical, or heavy manufacturing, or mining. A lot of the time, then you never have two projects, basically repeat, one another. They're just not identical, put it this way. So when you try to sample, remember, the only way you don't sample is to take the entirety of the process, or a process. And what is that? That is online procedure, automated procedure. Until you're there, you just have to sample. It's just a matter of how much, where, how to get best represented of the entire fact. So the online automated procedure is the way to go, okay? It just, how long does it take who to get there? But it's the way to go. And we already talked about all this, entirely automated service operation process at some of the logistics service facilities. It's already, a reality. It's not like a fancy, I'm fantasizing. No, this is just, reality. So everybody's going there, right? So that's online procedure. So fully automated. When you have that, you don't need a sample anyway. You don't need a sample. So what does that mean? That means when you do the online procedure, what you get is the data, operational data. You collect in entirety in real time. And this is the dream come true for the people doing the, analysis, model analysis. Oh, so now we have whatever data we want. It's there. It's available. Okay, so of course, I mentioned before, if you don't know what to do with all that data, you collect all the data for nothing. But now, you don't have a sample. You get the real-time data in entirety. Oh, you can do a lot of good with it, right? So what do you do with that? ERP? I'm sorry, that's not going to help you there. All that data for ERP? No. Okay? So ERP, of course, and I also mentioned in previous video, you have the BI module, business intelligence. Yes, they could use some data, but they were designed as a system to take the sampled data. And of course, sampled data is a good data, bad data. You need to do the cleansing, and you need to qualify them. And then, hey, what goes into that model as the input, right? And so what's the expected output from that model? Lots of data. Would a BI cut the job? Not really. So what's a BI? What's an AI, right? So AI, of course, is artificial intelligence. Let's put it this way. AI is dumb. And you're like, wait. AI is smart, super smart. What do you mean it's dumb? It's dumb. As of today, AI is nothing but a logic, right? So you train the AI process, and the AI process take over, right? So what a BI does, BI, they do a little analysis here, analysis there. Of course, it's better than you don't have any analysis. Then what do you have all the data for, right? You don't come up with a good decision. So the AI, you can use it to make a lot of technical or operational decision for you, except for you got to design the process right and train the process right. It's a way of thinking, right? But what AI, gets better than human is they can do the computation with all this computation power. The computer today, gee, they can do a lot of things, right? So let's just say, I'm gonna give you, I guess, some kind of case in point here. Let's say you have a warehouse, and all the manufacturing places warehouse, or the retail, right? Those chain stores. You got a Target, you got by the way, our homework one time hit on one of those, automobile parts retail center, right? So they all have warehouse. So how much inventory do they put there as the optimized inventory? So what is optimized inventory? Basically, you would be able to forecast the demand, and then you come up with the right supply, and the demand goes up and down. Maybe does it make any difference weekend over weekdays? Does it make any difference, like a seasonal, for instance, like Thanksgiving Day in America, or Christmas in Western countries, or Chinese New Year in China and whichever else Asian country celebrate? Of course, there's a seasonal, rush, and then come down. Seasonal, right? So your ERP taking all that information, without the BI, what does that do? As far as the planning, you got to have the BI. The BI basically taking all this model, okay, and sample the data, say, okay, so like 2 weeks prior or even 3 months prior to whatever holiday in whichever country, whatever culture, people start to do shopping, okay? What kind of shopping? Anything? Do you want to celebrate this coming Christmas by buying a house for your spouse, your kids? Hey man, here, let's move to the new house for this Christmas. Really? Not too many Americans that rich, right? I don't know one yet. I don't want to know one because I hate those people. So anyway, it's not just across board old merchandise, right? So what? Maybe leather gloves, maybe pretty nice for the husband, or some very nice silk scarf for the wife, or some kind of toy, I don't know, $100 June, with a camera, video camera and that. Maybe, who knows? But your BI does that, basically, forecast what specifically merchandise to go, and based on this time last year, what they call the historical data, right? At a certain region, the purchase reached certain volume. So for this coming year, the season, we will supply that much. That's one. That's a BI for you, right? And then we're in Houston. A lots of hurricane every year. So for stores such as Lowe's or Home Depot or similar, they probably need to supply certain things, before the hurricane hits the area. That's a forecast. And that's what BI could do really well, right? So let's say for the backup diesel engine, right? Not engine, but generator, so that in case you lose the electricity supply, from in the region from the supplier, you could fire up your own. That could be anywhere between $300 to $2,000, how fancy you will. So you don't just give the full line, right? So basically your BI studies what is the most popular model based on the customer review and based on the price range people could afford, the affordability, right? And do we need the store credit to support, to promote the sales and all that? So that, the forecast the demand, and then plan on your supply. So without a BI, what do you think ERP can do? TMS, WMS, it's not smart enough, right? So now we got the BI. How does that work, right? the demand, the supply, and then you plan accordingly. Now your ERP goes up one step higher, with the BI. Now, where do you think the BI is limited? Like I mentioned a little earlier, the BI works with the sample, the data. When you sample, okay, I think I gave some example in the previous videos. People have all this talk, this fuss about big data. And I think I gave a example in at least one of the previous videos. And I'm going to give you another one. Okay? So the big data, okay, suggested a lot of this, I guess, COVID-19 thing came, to everybody's not public knowledge, came from Wuhan, China, right? So there's this retired soccer star did in his talk show said, you know what? The first 5G implemented city in China was Wuhan. Wuhan was where this COVID-19 broke out, right? So what did that say? That says, oh, there's this COVID-19 breakout, and then there's this 5G. So this retired, former superstar came to the conclusion, 5G spread COVID-19. Does it sound really stupid? Well, believe it or not, in several big cities in the UK, the angry people act like mobs. They went out and they burned a 5G antenna tower. And they were actually confronting the people, the staff, the workers on site, like, don't you have family? Aren't you worried about having the COVID-19, the virus spread, around your family? You're killing your family. Where's your conscience? Whoa, that sounds so good. But except for the fact, you have one thing here, one thing there. They're isolated fact, and you establish the, I guess somehow legitimate relationship based on what? And that's the problem with big data. You can go out and acquire lots of data, collect them in, and then, hey, how do you establish the relationship, arrive at a conclusion, right? So BI, sometimes it's not just BI, right? In one of the previous videos, I talk about operational research. Operations research model analysis have that problem too. They walk in with the presumption and they don't know all the constraints. And then they try to teach you what's the objective. What's their soft? Meaning, the mathematic solution. What's their soft? When they tell you, you're like, I don't give it. I don't care. I don't get it. Why? Because, you don't understand the whole thing. So, one scenario is BI versus AI, right? So AI basically can go into a lot at depth and at length. Okay, compared to BI, they do a lot fancier. AI can regenerate the algorithm by itself, right? So you basically set the direction, train the AI, which is the thinking process, and then the way you design the system can, basically took your first algorithm and based on that can redesign the second, generation, regenerate the algorithm to do the corrective adjustment, this and that. So basically, but is this artificial intelligence really, really that smart? And I'll give you a reason why. Because artificial intelligence by name in English or in American, we're American, right? Artificial intelligence is supposed to copy your human brain. And I did give the example before, right? So when my pets, cats, dogs, all like that. So when you see the dog goes out and cat, same thing, right? Except for I walk my dog. I don't walk my cat. I tried several times and I failed. My cat, just not dogs. But their ears, they're constantly going like this. They hear anything, the ears go that way, right? That's a radar scanning. What is going on there? Capture the movement. So by the way, radar copies, animals on this, right? And so they picked up the data, which is basically sound signal, right? The number of vibrations within a certain span of time, which is frequency, right? And then the pitch, how high, ooh, it's different, right? So they take that in, and don't think it's not complicated. It is. They put the sound signal, and let's say it's some kind of wave, okay, curves, and they take that into their little brain because they already got a lot of waves in their brain that was associated with certain threat, risk, right? So when they have the new sound signal they never captured before, they go out there, they scan, they capture, and it's input put into their little brain. And then what they do, they compare the curves, okay? If they're exactly identical, which is already registered from previous scanning, they can associate what this is. Does this represent any kind of threat? Based on their experience, because let's say 3 months ago, they registered one sound signal, the pattern of the curve or the wave, right? They registered here. And then they associate that because right after that, some big, big guy or big woman come out and try to, of course that doesn't happen, but just say it did, right? So cat or dog associate, oh, that signal. That sounds like a nasty woman or man in my neighborhood. I'm gonna, basically, hey, stay away from this neighbor. That's the risk registered, right? Associated with the signal. Very complicated. Even though the little, cat or dog, you don't think they have much brain. That's pretty, complicated process, right? So AI, you have to teach AI to think this way, to think that way. AI cannot automatically cover everything. A lot of things, if you never teach the system, if the system, like a robot, could talk, no. You say, hey, what's up, man? You didn't do this for me. You did not teach me that. It is your problem. You are to be blamed. The AI, the robot, or whatever, talking right. You need to teach this system to think. You have to teach the system, okay, smoking is not healthy. Okay, register here. Smoking is not healthy. That's an AI, right? My dog, sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes I do a little smoking and my dog is like, and then stay away from me. Even though while my dog was trying to show me this, affection, trying to lick my face. And this is how I stop him. When all this, washing my face with that big tongue, what I do is take out a cigarette and the dog just go away. Did I ever teach the dog smoking is not healthy? That could actually, in time kill you? No, but I don't know how he knows. He's going to stay away if I take out my cigarette and use a lighter, pretend I'm going to light it. He will back away. That's an experience. But from what? He doesn't know how, that works with your lung, whatever. And while we're on this subject, here's another thing, right? On one hand, statistics show the relationship between the lung cancer and all this scary disease and your smoking habit. Do I recognize? Yes, I do. But in the meantime, is there another study out there saying all this psychological, impact positively bring the joy, the pleasure, okay, while you're sitting out there having a coffee or a tea, enjoying, have a cigarette. Wow, Jesus Christ, I love my yard, this beautiful garden. With that kind of mood every day, damn, do I care? I live to be 200 years old. Do I care about, hey, I want a happy day every day for most of my life? You see what I'm talking about? This is the quantitative study and this is the qualitative study, right? AI could function anywhere in this area, in this little department? I doubt it. Until we train them to be smart. That's why I said, earlier, AI is dumb, but it's smart. Because let's say back in the scenario that I mentioned many times in previous videos, right? So let's say in the capital equipment delivery process for, upstream sector of oil, gas, chemical. So in this process, this is going one way, and then you got a node 1, 2, 3, all the way to whatever, XY or XYZ. So this process, every node. At each node, by my direct experience, intuitively accumulated, I know their risks. So each node, the risk 1, 2, 3, vertical, I start to have this. And then horizontally to all this risk, I would have at least 1, if not 5, mitigation measure as options. So I start to calculate about this risk mitigation option scenarios, because that's what you need for a plan, a good plan. A lot of people don't know how to do this, but a good plan, you got to explore the risk scenarios and weigh out the options and the mitigation. Basically you need resources, what's the operational efficiency, the economic impact, blah, blah, blah. You rank all those solutions, right? That's the plan. I've been doing this manually, but how much do you think I can calculate each and every one of them? It takes forever. But if you have AI, all this, done in a split of second, because the computation power. You feed data to the system and you already train the system to do what? All you're taking advantage of is the computation power, right? So let's say there are 10,000 probabilities of whatever out there. When you have a little great human brain, the AI system is supposed to copy you, right? Do you think you can beat the system? Of course not. 10,000 probabilities? I give up. And this AI system, take it over, feed you the output. Pretty accurate too, if you train the system right. And then let's talk about enhanced deep learning. What is that? Let's say we're designing a system, right? It's a beautiful system theoretically. The problem is, and I'm going to actually give you the real case. All the oil companies, all the big guys, okay? Even internally, they don't share historical data between projects. So when you design the system for a project, and you ain't got no historical data whatsoever, because all the project managers, they sit there, all they want to know is how beautifully they've done their job. And that's why they qualify for their fat bonus. Do they want to know where they messed up? Of course they don't. That's why you just can't. They make it actually a discipline at certain oil companies. Do not talk about the projects to the people outside your own project team. Okay, that's that. So now we're sitting here and trying to design a system without any data as the reference. That's a problem. That's a challenge, right? So how do you get started? With the deep learning, that's not a problem. They will go out there, search whatever big data, which is at the beginning is not very precise, but something to start with, okay? Just throw in some data and start a model and run an analysis and give you a range, right? A probability, this and that. And then. So that's how the system starts, right? And then once this system is there, presumably this is the online automated procedure, operation procedure. So all this real-time, data in the entirety flowing between point A and point B, and then, so on and so forth, just keep going. You got all your data, right? So after the time, when it's not real time, what is it? That's a historical data. But when you're in the real time, who cares about historical? You capture the whole darn thing. Now that's deep learning where it can be deployed for its best function, in my opinion, right? So now we talk about the ERP, the BI, the AI, the deep learning. So I hope this helped you to understand where it's going to go from and where it is going to arrive at. And I do want to tell you this deep learning thing. There's a lot of limit today. It's just a little baby stage infantry. I mean, really infant, not infantry. This is infantry, but little infant thing. But it will get somewhere really, more seriously significant impact to be produced by both AI and deep learning, right? So now back to the point. You are on a team of preparation for digitalization as, basically confined to the scope of supply chain management. So what do? You're one student of Mr. Whaley. You learned anything? Oh, don't tell me you only learned from this video, nothing from the other classes back in the classroom. But if so, I would be so ashamed of myself because this is my objective. I want to prepare you for the future, not the yesterday, like other classes. They teach you things that your grandparents, your parents learned. Supposedly you are going to take this as the new blood into the enterprises. So anyway, back to the point. What do you do? Or what are you expected to do? Or what do you think you can do, right? As this, I just created a fake opening at a fake enterprise, but going to be very real process, which is basically digitalization, transformation, business analyst. So basically what you would do in this case, you walk into this process already, okay? The way being practiced by company A, right? So you walk in there and you watch, you take down notes how everything is done. And of course, I only taught you 8 weeks classroom teaching, and then the rest, better than I do. The class video, did you watch everything? Did you ask me the questions to get the answers? You know better, so I'm gonna drop there. But 8 weeks, that's one class each week, so that's 8 classes. How much can I teach you that there? But still, I suppose you are going to have some self-guided study going further on the subject if you're interested, right? So you walk in, you observe the process, and then you go, let's say Google. I don't know if Google has that, but let's say you Google, you get some, good, procedure of the similar industry, this, basically similar kind of business operation, what is supposed to be the best practice. So you find out, right, about, what they could do, where they could, exactly how to improve themselves, right? So that is basically the practice need to be improved. Because if you don't do that, the online thing is never going to happen, okay? So basically, you get them on the best practice, and then you get them on the SOP based on the best practice, okay? Only after you have the SOP, the online automation procedure becomes now possible only, okay? Without this, how do you do online? That's a story you can tell to maybe boost your stock market performance for the enterprise. But that's not what you do as far as the digitalization preparation or transformation, right? So basically, you need to do all that, okay, to help them as far as how to get on the forget a best practice. There's not going to be best. There's always going to be better practice. And then you amend, you adjust their SOP. I'm sure they already have one. But now that you roll out the better practice, you adjust their SOP. Not every node, but we're just have to change. And with that, now you can, talk to the IT folks and the AI folks and the deep learning folks. You don't talk to all of them. You talk to their project leader, the real leader, not the one we're in the head, but the architect, okay? So the architect basically work with all those technologies, and you talk to the architect, say, okay, this is where the business application requirements are, and this is where we have paved the road for you, with this SOP based on the better practice, and I want you to basically design a process from probably hybrid or semi-automatic all the way to the automatic. So why hybrid? Why semi-automatic? Because at the beginning, all the by human nature, they resist whatever change. You need time to get them in line, get them on board, and then you have to catch them where they're messing around with this new system. And you got to have the human interface to basically the system allow them to do certain things before you transform entirely into the total automatic. So what's the beauty of this total online automated operation system or platform or procedure, whatever you call it? When you have no knowledge, just Mr. Dom or Mrs. Dom arrive at work. I ain't got no degree in supply chain management. Don't worry, man. You don't need that. Any Dom, maybe my pet could do this if my pet know where to, put the mouse and click. That's the beauty. You don't have knowledge and you don't feel like coming to work. You don't want to show up. That's fine. Stay home. You can do this, a little remote control, from where you are and manipulate, the things, do the what if scenario. You can do this analysis at home. Of course, would it help if you have some degree or even fancier degree? Of course it does. But there's not a whole lot you can do. The more automated it is going to be, the dumber it is going to be. Why? Because there's no room for human to. Wait. This is a bad idea. Well, the system doesn't recognize that. The system thinks you are a dummy, okay? So, hey, that's where we're heading. So now, we talk about all this, and your job title that you're applying for is blah, blah, blah. You tell me. I'm the hiring manager sitting here. Okay, Mr. Blah, blah, or Mrs. or Miss blah, blah. Tell me, why should I hire you out of all the graduates from all the schools across the country? We don't know who's, Mr. Lee. We don't know nothing about him. We don't care. Just tell me. And I don't care where you learned this from. Just tell me, what do you think you can do for us that your competitions cannot do? So this is the opening statement from hiring manager I pretend to be. And now you're sitting in front of your cell phone or whatever you're recording the video with, and you're telling me. You start by answering this question and this question only, okay? This is how we simulate the situation. And so you are going to dress the way like you're going to a, not this way, okay, this is a casual jacket. The color is fine, but not the material. Basically, you dress the way, that's the proper dress code for job interview, and you talk to me, imaginary me, in your, into your cell phone, your whatever recorder, like you're talking to me. So you look into my eyes, look comfortably, not cocky, but comfortably. Yeah. If you're cocky, that's no good. But if you're like, you're not gonna be good. You're not getting hired because you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't look so confident. So maybe this is one way to do it. Mr. So-and-so, we believe, blah, 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 blah. So whose way? We means the students in this class from Mr. Lee, right? So we believe we have learned blah, 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 and we did some research, and we think this industry is going blah, 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 and basically we have the knowledge, and we are supposed to be the new blood to help whatever enterprise is transforming itself from the status quo to the very, very soon future. And so we learned about all this, right? So our knowledge should, really contribute to a smooth, or hopefully smooth transformation, blah, 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 right? So in between all this, you need to throw in the knowledge, where, how, why certain things have to happen before this future company who's supposed to hire you could actually get somewhere. Because failures, we know all about the failures, right? All the successful stories, you only read about them. Well, luckily, you may be associated with a couple of them in your lifetime, and that's something later you look back you can be proud of. And hey, I'm proud of being a professor here, for you guys. All right, hope so. So anyway, let's try to wrap up right here because it's already 41 minutes, almost 42 into the clock. Because this is not a sanctioned class video, so I don't have to do a full hour, right? So I hope this helped you. And if you have questions, raise the question through the coordinator. Let me know. We can address the question in a Q&A session over Zoom on a Tuesday. And we only have probably 3 weeks left before the whole semester is over. So once again, stay safe. And do let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to help you. And that's what I'm here for. Okay? Ciao for now.